Hello, dear listeners. In just a moment, this story will take you on an adventure while revealing fascinating facts you may have never discovered before. Before we begin, subscribing to the channel would mean a lot and greatly support this journey. Thank you in advance. We are beginning. Your eyes open. The ceiling above you is the same as always, the light filtering through the shutters in the familiar pattern of morning. But something is different. You lie still, listening to the sounds of the city waking. The creak of carts, the call of vendors, the murmur of voices that has been the background of your life for as long as you can remember. But today the sounds are muted, the voices lower, the rhythm slower. The city is holding its breath. You rise. Your feet find the floor, the stone cool beneath your skin, and you dress quickly, your hands moving through the familiar motions. You have done this 1,000 times, 1,000 mornings, waking to the same light, the same sounds, the same life. But today is not the same. Today you are not going to the market, not to the workshop, not to the temple. Today you are going to the court. The air in your room is still, the shutters barely moving, the dust motes hanging in the light. You stand for a moment, your hand on the frame, and you listen to the silence that is not quite silence. Somewhere in the city, a dog barks. Somewhere else, a door closes. But the usual chorus of morning, the calls of the fishmonger, the arguments of the merchants, the laughter of children, is absent. The city has turned inward today, waiting. You step into the street. The sun is rising, the light gold, the shadows long and stretching across the stone. The streets are already full, but the crowd is not the usual crowd. There are no merchants calling their prices, no children running between the stalls, no laughter, no arguments. There is only the slow movement of people walking in the same direction, their faces still, their voices low, their eyes fixed on the path ahead. You join them, your feet finding the rhythm, your body falling into the flow. The road to the court is familiar. You have walked it before in other seasons for other reasons. You have stood in the crowd when the generals were tried, when the politicians were judged, when the city turned on its own. But this is different. The man they are judging today is not a general, not a politician. He is a philosopher. An old man who has spent his life asking questions that no one wants to answer. You have seen him before in the agora, in the streets, his sandals worn, his cloak thin, his voice steady. You have heard him speak to the young men who gathered around him, asking them what justice is, what virtue is, what truth is. You have never spoken to him. Today you will watch him face his accusers. You pass the agora, the marketplace where you have spent so many mornings, where the philosophers gather to argue, to debate, to think. It is empty today, the stalls closed, the benches deserted. The voices that usually fill it are silent, gathered elsewhere, waiting. You see the stone where he often stood, the spot where the young men would gather around him, their faces eager, their minds open. Today that stone is bare, the dust undisturbed. You pass the stoa, the painted porch where the young men listen to the teachers, where the ideas that shape the city are born and debated and discarded. It is quiet, the columns casting long shadows across the empty stone. You remember the stories you have heard. That he fought in the wars, that he saved the life of a friend, that he walked away from honor and reward because he believed that the pursuit of truth was more important than the pursuit of glory. You remember the stories and you wonder if they are true. You wonder if any of it matters today. You reach the court. The building is old, the stone worn, the steps steep. The crowd is thick here, pressing against the walls, straining to see, to hear, to be present. You push through, your body finding spaces between the others, your feet finding the steps, your eyes finding the doorway. Inside, the court is already full. The jurors are seated in their rows, 500 men chosen by lot, their faces still, their hands folded. The citizens are packed into the galleries, their voices a low murmur that rises and falls like the tide. The light falls through the open roof, a square of brightness in the center of the room. You find a place against the wall, your back against the stone, your eyes fixed on the center of the room. The accusers are there, 3 men, their faces set, their hands clasped behind their backs. They are young, younger than you expected, or perhaps the old man makes everyone seem young. They stand with the confidence of those who believe they are right, who believe they are defending the city, who believe they are doing what must be done. And then you see him. He is old. Older than you expected, older than the stories made him seem. His hair is white, his beard long, his face lined with years. He wears no fine cloak, no ornament, no sign of the wealth or status that other men display. He is simply dressed, simply seated, simply waiting. His hands are folded in his lap, his eyes are closed, his breath is slow. He does not look at the jurors, at the crowd, at the accusers who stand beside him. He sits and he waits, and the city waits with him. You study his face. The skin is weathered, the forehead high, the eyes, though closed, deep set. There is a stillness about him that is not the stillness of fear or resignation. It is the stillness of a man who has already considered the worst and found it not worth worrying about. His lips are slightly parted, as if he is about to speak, or as if he is listening to something that only he can hear. The accuser speaks. His voice is high, sharp, cutting through the silence. He speaks of impiety, of corruption, of the young men who have been led astray. He speaks of gods who have been denied, of truths that have been questioned, of a city that has been weakened. His words echo off the stone walls, sharp and clear, and you watch the old man's face. He does not react. His eyes remain closed, his hands remain folded, his breath remains slow. He sits in the center of the room and he waits. The accuser speaks of the new gods, the ones the old man is said to introduce. He speaks of the old gods, the ones the city has always honored, the ones that protect the walls, the harvest, the families. He speaks of the young men who follow the old man, who have learned to question their fathers, to question the laws, to question everything. He speaks and the crowd listens and you feel the weight of his words pressing against you. He speaks of the war, of the defeat, of the years of fear and hunger and loss. He does not say that the old man is responsible, but the words hang in the air, connecting, implying. The city needed someone to blame. The city has found someone. You watch the old man and you wonder if he knows. You wonder if he cares. The accuser finishes. There is a pause, a moment of silence, a breath held. The crowd shifts, the jurors stir, the light moves across the stone. 500 men in the jury, and you can feel their uncertainty, their discomfort, their desire to be done with this thing that has unsettled them. And then the old man opens his eyes. He rises slowly, his body stiff, his movements deliberate. His hands unclasp, his arms drop to his sides. He stands before the court and he speaks. His voice is low, steady, unhurried. He does not shout. He does not plead. He does not defend. He speaks of the life he has lived, of the questions he has asked, of the truths he has sought. He speaks of the oracle that named him the wisest of men, and of the search that followed, the search for someone wiser, the search that found only those who thought they knew and did not know. His voice carries across the court, filling the space that the accuser's words left empty. He does not raise it, and yet you hear every word. The stone walls that seemed so cold are now warm with the sound of his voice. He speaks of the young men who followed him, who listened, who learned. He did not teach them, he says. He only asked them questions. He only asked them to think. He only asked them to examine their lives, to question their beliefs, to seek the truth that lies beneath the surface of things. His voice is calm, and you find yourself leaning forward, wanting to hear more, wanting to understand. He speaks, and the court is silent. The jurors listen, the crowd listens, the accusers listen. The words are not a defense. They are an explanation. They are a life laid bare, a mind laid open, a soul laid before the city that has judged it. He speaks of fear. Not the fear of death, he says, but the fear of living without meaning. He speaks of honor, not the honor of the city, but the honor of the self. He speaks of truth, not the truth that is convenient, but the truth that is hard. He pauses, and the silence fills the room. For a moment, you think he is finished. Then he speaks again, his voice softer now, almost a whisper, yet somehow clearer. I am not afraid of death, he says. I am afraid of betraying the truth that has been given to me to seek. He looks at the jurors, at the crowd, at the accusers. If you kill me, you will not harm me. You will harm yourselves. He finishes. There is a silence that stretches, that fills the room, that presses against the walls. The jurors do not move. The crowd does not breathe. The old man stands in the center of the court and he waits. You stand against the wall and you wait with him. The light has moved, the square of brightness now touching the edge of the jurors' seats. The day is passing and the decision is coming. The sun has climbed higher. The square of light that fell through the open roof has moved across the stone floor and now touches the feet of the jurors, the edge of the old man's cloak, the faces of the accusers. The shadows have shrunk, the air has grown warm, and the silence that followed his words has stretched into something almost unbearable. You stand against the wall, your back pressed to the cold stone, and you wait. The old man does not move. He stands where he finished, his hands at his sides, his eyes fixed on something you cannot see. Perhaps he is looking at the jurors. Perhaps he is looking at the sky through the open roof. Perhaps he is looking at something else entirely, something that only he can see, something that has been there all along, waiting for him to notice. The accuser shifts beside him, his weight moving from one foot to the other, his hands clasping and unclasping behind his back. He wants to speak again. You can see it in the set of his jaw, the tightness of his shoulders. But the old man's silence holds him, as it holds everyone in the court. You think about the words you heard. They are still in your mind, circling, settling, refusing to leave. If you kill me, you will not harm me. You will harm yourselves. You have heard men speak of death before. Soldiers speak of it with bravado, merchants with fear, priests with certainty. But you have never heard anyone speak of it like this. As if it were something that happens to someone else, something that does not touch the self that matters. As if the body is a house and death is simply the door. You watch the old man's hands. They are not shaking. They are not steady either. They are simply there, resting against his thighs, the fingers slightly curled, the nails clean, the skin dry and lined with age. These hands have held a shield, you remember. These hands have saved a life. These hands have written nothing because he believes that truth should be spoken, not written, that it should live in the air between people, that it should be questioned and tested and shaped by the minds that receive it. The accuser speaks. His voice is higher now, sharper, as if he has been holding his breath and has finally let it go. He asks the jurors to remember the old man's words, to consider the danger of them, to think of their children, their city, their gods. He asks them to do their duty. He asks them to vote. The jurors stir. They have been sitting for hours, their backs straight, their hands folded, their faces still. Now they move, shifting in their seats, leaning toward one another, whispering. The sound is like wind through dry leaves, a rustling that rises and falls, that fills the court, that replaces the silence that held them all. The old man does not look at them. He turns slightly, his eyes finding the light that falls through the roof, his face lifted toward the sky. You follow his gaze, but there is nothing there. Only blue, only the pale white of the sun, only the endless emptiness that has always been there, that he has always been asking about. You think about the questions you have heard him ask. What is justice? What is virtue? What is truth? You have heard them before, in the agora, in the streets, in the stories that circulate through the city. But you have never heard them like this. You have never heard them in a place where the answer might mean death. He turns back to the jurors. He speaks again, his voice low, steady, unhurried. He does not address them directly, not anymore. He speaks to the room, to the light, to the silence that has returned. I have lived 70 years, he says. I have seen wars. I have seen plagues. I have seen the city fall and rise and fall again. I have watched men who thought they knew everything discover that they knew nothing. I have watched men who thought they were powerful discover that they were only instruments of forces they could not control. He pauses, and his eyes move across the faces of the jurors, the crowd, the accusers. I have been called a gadfly. I have been called a corrupter. I have been called an atheist. I have been called many things by many people for many years. He smiles. It is a small thing, barely visible, a softening of the lines around his mouth. Perhaps I am all of those things. Perhaps I am none of them. It does not matter. What matters is that I have asked the questions. What matters is that I have taught my sons and the sons of my friends to ask them too. The accuser speaks again, but his voice is lost in the murmuring of the jurors. They are voting now, you realize. The stones are being passed, the small discs of metal and clay, the tokens of judgment. You watch them move from hand to hand, from the box to the juror, from the juror to the urn. The sound is soft, barely audible, but you hear it. It is the sound of a life being weighed. You think about the weight of those tokens. How light they are. How small. How easy to pick up, to drop, to forget. And yet, they are heavier than anything the old man has ever carried. Heavier than his shield, heavier than his years, heavier than the questions he has spent a lifetime asking. The voting ends. The jurors are still, their hands empty, their eyes fixed on the urn. The foreman rises, his face gray, his hands trembling. He moves to the urn, reaches in, begins to count. The sound of the tokens against his fingers is soft, a whisper of metal and clay, a rustle that you feel in your chest. He finishes. He turns to the court. He speaks. The words are simple, the same words that have been spoken for centuries, the same words that have ended other lives, other trials, other days. Guilty. The word hangs in the air. It does not echo. It does not fade. It simply stays, as if it has found a place to rest, as if it has been waiting for this moment, for this court, for this man. You look at the old man. His face is the same. His eyes are the same. His hands are the same. He does not move. He does not speak. He stands where he has stood all day, his feet planted on the stone, his face lifted toward the light, and he waits. The jurors wait with him. The crowd waits with him. The city waits with him. The accuser speaks again. He asks for the penalty. He asks for death. The old man speaks. His voice is steady, as if he is discussing the weather, as if he is asking a question about virtue, as if this is just another conversation in the agora. What penalty do I deserve? He asks. What does a man deserve who has spent his life trying to make his fellow citizens better? What does a man deserve who has asked them to think, to question, to examine their lives? He pauses and you can hear him thinking. You can see the thoughts moving behind his eyes, the same eyes that have looked at you, that have looked at the city, that have looked at the light. I deserve free meals in the Prytaneum, he says. That is what I deserve. That is what any benefactor of the city deserves. Someone laughs. It is a small sound, quickly stifled, but it is there. The old man hears it, and his smile returns, that small softening of his mouth. But I know what you will give me. I know what the law requires. I know what I must propose. He stops. He looks at the jurors, at the crowd, at you. Il propose a fine. 30 miney. My friends will pay it. I have no money. I have never had money. I have only had the questions and the time to ask them. He is silent. The jurors do not move. The crowd does not breathe. You stand against the wall, your back pressed to the stone, your eyes fixed on the old man, and you wait. The accuser speaks again. He asks for death. The jurors vote again. The stones pass from hand to hand, from the box to the juror, from the juror to the urn. The sound is soft, barely audible, but you hear it. It is the sound of a life ending. The foreman rises. He reaches into the urn. He counts. He turns to the court. The sun has moved again. The light is lower now, the shadows longer, the day fading. The square of brightness has shifted from the juror's feet to the wall where you stand, touching your hand, your arm, your face. It is warm, that light, and you think that it is the last warmth the old man will feel in this room, in this city, in this life. The foreman speaks. The words are simple, the same words that have been spoken for centuries, the same words that have ended other lives, other trials, other days. Death. The word falls. You watch the old man's face. It does not change. His eyes do not widen. His hands do not clench. He stands where he has stood all day, his feet planted on the stone, his face lifted toward the light, and he speaks. The hour of departure has arrived. I go to die. You go to life. Which of us goes to the better lot, only God knows. He turns and he walks toward the door. The crowd parts for him, silently, without thought, without command. You watch him go, his cloak brushing against the stone, his sandals sounding softly on the floor. He reaches the doorway and he pauses. For a moment you think he will look back. You think he will turn to the court, to the jurors, to the accusers, to you. But he does not. He steps through the door and the light swallows him and he is gone. You stand against the wall, your back pressed to the stone, and you do not move. The sun has set, the light has faded, the room is dark. The jurors are leaving, the crowd is dispersing, the accusers are gone. Only you remain, and the silence, and the words that are still in your mind. I go to die. You go to life. You do not know which is better. You do not know if you ever will. The court is emptying. The jurors file out, their faces gray, their steps slow. The crowd follows, a river of bodies pressing toward the doors, toward the light, toward the life that continues outside these walls. You stand against the stone, your back pressed to the cold, and you do not move. The light that fell through the roof has faded, the square of brightness that touched your hand, your arm, your face is gone. The room is dim, the shadows long, the air still. You think about the words you heard. I go to die. You go to life. They are still there, in your mind, in your chest, in the space between your thoughts. You do not know what to do with them. You do not know where to put them. They are not like other words that come and go, that are spoken and forgotten, that dissolve into the noise of the city. These words are different. They have weight. They have shape. They have taken up residence in a place you did not know was empty. You move. Your legs are stiff, your feet cold, your body heavy. You walk toward the door and your footsteps echo in the empty room. The stone floor is worn smooth, worn by the feet of men who came before you, who stood where you stood, who heard words that changed them. You do not know their names. You do not know what they heard. You only know that they are gone and you are here and the words are still with you. You step through the door. The light is different outside. The sun is low, the shadows long, the air cool. The crowd is gone, the streets are empty, the city is quiet. You stand on the steps of the court, and you look at the city that has just killed its wisest man. The agora is empty, the stalls closed, the benches deserted. The stoa is quiet, the columns casting long shadows across the stone. The temples are dark, the doors closed, the altars cold. The city has turned away from itself, has retreated into its houses, has closed its shutters and its doors and its ears. You are alone in the streets and you walk. You walk without thinking. Your feet carry you through the familiar streets, past the houses where you grew up, past the workshops where your neighbors work, past the fountain where the women gather in the morning to fill their jars. The city is the same, but it is not the same. The stones are the same, the walls are the same, the light is the same. But something has shifted, something has changed, something has ended. You reach the prison. You did not plan to come here. You did not know you were coming. But your feet have brought you, and you stand before the gate and you look at the walls that hold him. The prison is old, the stone dark, the windows small. There are no guards at the gate. There is no one to stop you. You push the door open, and it swings inward with a sound that is soft and heavy, that echoes in the empty hall, that carries the weight of all the doors that have opened here, for all the men who have waited here, for all the lives that have ended here. You walk inside. The corridor is dark, the walls damp, the air cold. You hear your footsteps and you hear nothing else. No voices, no cries, no prayers. There is only the silence and the stone and the weight in your chest. You reach his cell. The door is open. You see him inside, sitting on a low stool, his back against the wall, his hands folded in his lap. He looks up as you enter, and his eyes are the same, clear, steady, calm. He does not speak. He waits. You stand in the doorway and you do not know what to say. You have not prepared words for this. You did not know you would come here. You did not know you would stand before him in this cell, in this silence, with the weight of his words still pressing against your chest. He speaks. His voice is low, steady, the same voice that filled the court, that asked the questions, that spoke of death and life as if they were the same. You came, he says. It is not a question. It is a statement, a fact, a thing that has happened and is now true. You nod. You cannot speak. He gestures to the stool beside him. Sit. You move, your legs stiff, your body heavy. You sit on the stool, and the stone is cold beneath you, and the light is dim, and he is there beside you waiting. He does not speak. He sits with his hands folded, his eyes fixed on the wall, his breath slow and steady. You sit beside him and you wait. The silence stretches, fills the cell, presses against the walls. You do not know how long you sit there. Time has become something else, something that moves without moving, that passes without passing. He speaks again. You heard the verdict. It is not a question. You nod. He turns to look at you. His eyes are the same, clear, steady, calm. And what do you think? You do not know how to answer. You have been asked questions before, in the agora, in the streets, in the homes of friends. But you have never been asked a question like this. You have never been asked a question by a man who is about to die. You try to speak and your voice comes out strange, thin, distant. I think they were wrong. He smiles. It is the same smile, the softening of the lines around his mouth, the small brightness that appeared in the court when he spoke of free meals in the Prytaneum. They were not wrong, he says. They were doing what they thought was right, what they thought was necessary, what they thought would save the city. He pauses and his eyes move to the window, to the light that is fading, to the sky that is turning dark. They were afraid. Fear makes men do terrible things. It makes them forget what they know. It makes them choose the easy answer over the true one. He turns back to you. But you are not afraid. It is not a question. You do not answer. He looks at you for a long time, his eyes moving across your face, your hands, your shoulders, as if he is seeing you for the first time, as if he is memorizing you, as if he is asking you something that does not need words. You came here, he says. You came to this place. You sat beside me. You are not afraid. He pauses and his voice is softer now, almost a whisper. That is why they are wrong. Not because they voted for death, but because they thought that death could stop the questions. He leans forward, his hands unclasping, his arms resting on his knees. The questions do not die. They live. They live in the minds of those who hear them. They live in the minds of those who ask them. They live in the minds of those who come to sit beside a man who is about to die, because they need to understand. He looks at you and his eyes are wet. You are the answer you see, not the words I spoke, not the questions I asked. You are the reason I lived. You are the reason I will die. Because you are here and you are thinking and you are asking yourself what you believe, what you know, what is true. You want to speak. You want to tell him that you do not know. You want to tell him that you have never known, that you have always been afraid, that you came because you did not know where else to go. But the words will not come. He speaks again, his voice low, steady, unhurried. When I am gone, they will forget me. They will build statues to other men. They will write poems about other heroes. They will tell stories about battles and victories and the glory of the city. But they will not forget the questions. They cannot forget the questions, because the questions are not mine. They belong to anyone who thinks. They belong to anyone who wonders. They belong to anyone who is not afraid. He leans back, his hands folding again in his lap. And you are not afraid. You sit beside him and the silence returns. The light has faded, the room is dark, the night has come. You do not know how long you have been here. You do not know how much longer you will stay. He speaks one last time. His voice is soft, so soft that you almost miss it, so soft that it seems to come from somewhere else, from somewhere inside you. Go home, he says. Think. Wonder. That is enough. That is more than enough. You stand. Your legs are stiff, your body heavy, your eyes wet. You stand in the doorway and you look back at him. He is sitting on the stool, his back against the wall, his hands folded in his lap. His eyes are closed, his breath is slow, his face is still. You turn and you walk away. You do not return to the prison. Days pass, or perhaps only hours. Time has become something that flows around you, through you, without touching you. You walk the streets of Athens, the same streets you have walked all your life, and they are different. The light falls differently. The shadows are longer, deeper. The voices that rise from the agora, from the workshops, from the houses, seem distant, muffled, as if they are coming from somewhere else, from another city, from another life. You know the day is coming. Everyone knows. The city speaks of it in whispers, in the spaces between conversations, in the moments when the work stops and the hands are still. They say it will be today. They say it will be tomorrow. They say it is already done. You do not know. You do not ask. You find yourself at the prison again. You do not remember walking here. Your feet have brought you as they did before, as they have always known the way. The gate is open, the corridor dark, the silence complete. You walk inside and your footsteps echo on the stone, and the sound is the only sound, the only thing that moves, the only thing that is alive. His cell is empty. You stand in the doorway and you do not move. The stool is there against the wall where he sat. The light is there, falling through the small window, pale and thin. The air is there, cold and still, holding nothing. He is gone. You do not know how long you stand there. Time has become something else, something that does not move, something that holds you in this moment, in this doorway, in this room that is empty. The stool is there, the wall is there, the light is there. But he is not. A voice speaks behind you. You turn and there is a guard, his face gray, his eyes tired, his hands still. He looks at you and he speaks, and his voice is low, soft, as if he is speaking to himself. They took him this morning. You do not answer. You wait. He speaks again. He was calm. He was peaceful. He spoke to us. He thanked us. He said we were not his enemies. He said we were just doing what we were told. The guard pauses and his eyes move to the empty stool, to the wall, to the light. He said we should not be afraid. He turns away and his footsteps fade down the corridor and you are alone. You stand in the doorway and you look at the stool, the wall, the light. You think of the words you heard in the court. I go to die. You go to life. You think of the words you heard in this cell. You are not afraid. You think of the words the guard spoke. We should not be afraid. You leave the prison. The street is empty, the house is dark, the city silent. You walk without direction, without thought, without feeling. Your feet carry you through the familiar streets, past the familiar doors, past the familiar walls. The city is the same, but it is not the same. Something has been taken from it, something that cannot be replaced, something that will not return. You reach the agora. It is empty, the stalls closed, the benches deserted. You stand in the center, where he used to stand, where the young men gathered around him, where the questions were asked, where the words were spoken. You close your eyes and you listen. There is nothing. The silence is complete. The city is holding its breath, waiting for something that has already happened, waiting for something that will not come again. You open your eyes and the light is different. The sun is lower, the shadows longer, the day ending. You walk toward the hill, toward the place where the court stands, toward the place where the verdict was given, toward the place where the sentence was spoken. The court is empty. The doors are open, the benches are empty, the stone floor is bare. You stand in the center where he stood, where he spoke, where he waited. The light falls through the open roof, a square of pale gold that touches the stone, that moves across the floor, that climbs the walls. You think of the words he spoke. What does a man deserve who has spent his life trying to make his fellow citizens better? You think of the words he did not speak, the questions he did not ask, the truths he did not name. You think of the silence that followed his words, the silence that filled the court, the silence that is still here, that will always be here. You leave the court and walk toward the city gate. The streets are empty, the houses dark, the walls rising against the sky that is turning from gold to red to gray. You reach the gate and step through, and the road stretches before you, the same road that has carried armies and merchants and travelers for centuries. You walk along it, away from the city, away from the walls, away from the place where he died. You stop at a rise where the road turns, where the city is still visible, the walls dark against the fading light. You stand there and you look back. The city is there, the walls, the towers, the temples. It is the same city, the same stones, the same streets, the same light. But it is not the same. Something has ended. Something has begun. You think about what you witnessed. The questions he asked were not for himself. They were for you. They were for the city. They were for anyone who would listen. And now that he is gone, the questions remain. They hang in the air like the dust motes in the light, waiting to be noticed, waiting to be asked again. You remember the faces of the jurors as they voted. Some were angry, some were afraid, some were uncertain. But none of them looked at him as he looked at them. He looked at them as if he were seeing something they could not see, as if he were looking past their faces, past their fear, past their anger, and into something deeper, into the part of them that knew, that had always known, that the questions he asked were the only ones that mattered. The sun is sinking now, the light turning red, the shadows stretching across the plain. You watch the city darken, the walls fading, the towers disappearing. Soon it will be night. Soon he will be gone. But you are still here. You are still standing on this road, still looking at the city, still holding the questions he left behind. You think about what he said in the cell. Go home. Think. Wonder. That is enough. You did not understand then. You are not sure you understand now. But you are beginning to see. It is not about finding answers. It is about not being afraid to ask. It is about not being afraid to not know. It is about living in the questions, letting them shape you, letting them make you more than you were. You turn away from the city. The road stretches before you, empty and dark. You do not know where you are going. You do not know what you will find. You only know that you are walking, and that you are carrying something with you that you did not have before. The night is complete now. There is no moon, or perhaps it has not yet risen. The stars are out, scattered across the sky like the fragments of a memory that is breaking apart. You have been standing on this rise for hours, or perhaps it has only been minutes. You do not know. You do not care. You think about the hemlock. You have heard stories of how it works. How the numbness begins in the feet, creeping upward, stealing sensation, stealing movement, stealing breath. You wonder if he felt it. You wonder if he was afraid. You wonder if he thought of the questions as the poison spread through his body, as the light faded from his eyes, as his last breath left his lips. You think of the words he spoke in the court. The hour of departure has arrived. I go to die. You go to life. Which of us goes to the better lot, only God knows. You did not understand then. You thought he was being brave. You thought he was being noble. But now, standing on this rise in this darkness, with the city behind you and the questions in your chest, you think you understand something else. He was not being brave. He was being honest. He did not know which lot was better. He did not pretend to know. He only knew that he had lived his life as he thought he should, and that he would die as he had lived, with the questions still unanswered, with the truth still beyond his reach. And that was enough. You sit on the ground, the grass dry beneath you, the stone cool against your legs. You look up at the stars and you think about the questions you will carry with you, the questions that will not leave, the questions that will shape the rest of your life. You do not know the answers. You may never know, but you are not afraid. You close your eyes and you listen. The wind moves across the plain, dry and cool. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks. Somewhere else, a door closes. The city is settling, the night is deepening, the world is turning. You open your eyes and the stars are still there, the same stars that watched over Athens when it was young, when it was new, when it was the center of the world. They are still here. They will always be here. You are here with them on this rise, on this road, in this silence. You think about the morning that will come. The light will return, the city will wake, the life that was interrupted will continue. The merchants will open their stalls. The children will run through the streets. The politicians will argue in the assembly. The city will forget, or it will remember, or it will do both. But you will be different. You will carry something with you that you did not have before. A question, a silence, a wait, and you will not let it go. You stand and you look back at the city one last time. The walls are dark, the towers are dark, the temples are dark. But you know they are there. You know they will always be there. And you know that somewhere in that city, in a house you cannot see, in a room you cannot enter, there is a man who drank poison this morning, who faced death without fear, who left behind nothing but questions. You turn away. The road stretches before you, empty and dark. You begin to walk. You do not know where you are going. You do not know what you will find. You only know that you are walking and that you are carrying something with you that you did not have before. The night is long, but you are not tired. The road is dark, but you are not afraid. The questions are heavy, but you are not alone. You walk and the stars move and the night passes and the light returns. The light returns slowly as if it is uncertain whether it is wanted. You have been walking for hours, or perhaps you have been standing still. The road stretches before you, empty and pale, and behind you the city is a smudge of shadow on the horizon. You do not know how long you have been away. You do not know if you will ever go back. You stop. The ground is dry, the grass brittle, the stones warm from the sun that is rising behind you. You turn and you look at Athens. The walls are there, the towers, the temples. The light catches the marble of the Parthenon, turns it gold, turns it white, turns it into something that is not stone but light itself. You have seen this 1,000 times, 1,000 mornings, waking to the same city, the same light, the same life. But it is not the same. It will never be the same. You sit on a stone by the side of the road. The dust rises in a small cloud, settles on your sandals, your cloak, your hands. You watch the city and you think about the man who is no longer there. You think about the questions he asked, the words he spoke, the silence he left behind. You do not know what you are waiting for. Perhaps you are waiting for something to happen. Perhaps you are waiting for the city to change, for the walls to fall, for the temples to crumble. But the city does not change. The walls stand. The temples shine. The sun rises and the day begins and the city goes on. You think about the men who voted to kill him. They are waking now in their houses, in their beds, their wives beside them, their children playing in the courtyards. They will eat breakfast, they will go to work, they will talk to their neighbors about the price of grain, the health of their children, the news from the harbor. They will not speak of him. They will not think of him. They have done what they thought was right. They have done what they thought was necessary. And they will forget. You think about the men who did not vote to kill him. They are waking too in their houses, in their beds. They will carry something with them that the others will not. A memory, a question, a weight. They will not forget. You think about the old man himself. He is not waking. He will never wake again. The poison has done its work. The numbness began in his feet, crept upward, stole his sensation, his movement, his breath. He lay on a bed in a prison cell, his friends around him, his eyes open, his voice steady until the end. They say he spoke to them. They say he asked them to be calm. They say he thanked the man who brought the poison. They say he drank it as if it were wine, as if it were a gift, as if it were something to be welcomed. You were not there. You did not see. You do not know if the stories are true, but you think they are. You think he faced death the way he faced life, with his eyes open, with his questions unanswered, with his truth unspoken. The sun is higher now. The light is stronger, the shadows shorter. The city is waking, the streets filling, the life beginning. You can almost hear it, the murmur of voices, the clatter of carts, the call of vendors. You can almost see it, the movement, the color, the noise. The city that killed its wisest man is going on. It is always going on. You stand. Your legs are stiff, your body cold, your eyes heavy. You have been sitting here for hours, or perhaps it has only been minutes. You do not know. You do not care. You look at the road that leads back to the city, and you look at the road that leads away. You do not know which to take. You think about the words he spoke in the court. The hour of departure has arrived. I go to die. You go to life. Which of us goes to the better lot, only God knows. You did not understand then. You thought he was speaking to the jurors. You thought he was speaking to the accusers. But now, standing on this road with the city behind you and the silence in your chest, You think he was speaking to you. He was speaking to everyone who would listen. He was speaking to anyone who would carry the questions when he was gone. You think about the questions. They are still there in your mind, in your chest, in the space between your thoughts. What is justice? What is virtue? What is truth? You do not know the answers. You may never know. But you are beginning to understand that the answers are not the point. The point is the asking. The point is the not knowing. The point is the willingness to live in the space between the questions and the answers, to let the questions shape you, to let them make you more than you were. You begin to walk, not toward the city, not away from it. You walk along the road that goes nowhere, the road that goes everywhere. Your feet find the rhythm, the same rhythm that has carried you all your life, the rhythm that will carry you to the end of it. The sun is high now, the light flat, the shadows gone. The road stretches before you, empty and white, and the city is behind you, small and distant. You do not know where you are going. You do not know what you will find. You only know that you are walking and that you are carrying something with you that you did not have before. You think about the life you will live, the years that are ahead of you, the mornings you will wake, the evenings you will sleep, the days that will pass and be forgotten. You will marry, perhaps. You will have children, perhaps. You will watch them grow, watch them leave, watch them live their own lives. You will grow old, your hair white, your hands trembling, your eyes failing. And you will think of him. You will think of the questions he asked. You will think of the silence he left behind. You stop. The road is empty, the fields are empty, the sky is empty. You stand in the center of the road and you look up at the sky. It is blue, endless, eternal. You think about the stars that will come out tonight, the same stars that watched over Athens when it was young, when it was new, when it was the center of the world. They will be there tonight. They will be there when you are gone. They will be there when no one remembers his name. You think about the man who asked you to think. You think about the man who asked you to wonder. You think about the man who asked you to live your life as if it mattered, because it does matter, because it is the only one you have, because it is the only thing you can give to the questions that will outlast you. You sit on the ground. The dust rises, settles on your sandals, your cloak, your hands. You are tired, so tired. You have been walking for hours, or perhaps you have been walking your whole life. You do not know. You do not care. You close your eyes and you let the silence hold you. There is no fear, no sadness, no waiting. There is only this, the road, the dust, the light. You are here. You are alive. You are the one who remembers. You think about the morning that will come. The light will return, the city will wake, the life that was interrupted will continue. The merchants will open their stalls. The children will run through the streets. The politicians will argue in the assembly. The city will forget, or it will remember, or it will do both. But you will be different. You will carry something with you that you did not have before. A question, a silence, a wait, and you will not let it go. You open your eyes. The sun is lower now, the light golden, the shadows long. The city is a smudge on the horizon, the walls dark against the fading light. You stand and you look at it one last time. You think about the words he spoke in the cell. Go home. think, wonder. That is enough. You did not understand then. You are not sure you understand now, but you are beginning to see. It is not about finding answers. It is about not being afraid to ask. It is about not being afraid to not know. It is about living in the questions, letting them shape you, letting them make you more than you were. You turn away from the city. The road stretches before you, empty and pale. You begin to walk. You do not know where you are going. You do not know what you will find. You only know that you are walking and that you are carrying something with you that you did not have before. The sun sets. The light fades. The stars appear one by one, the same stars that watched over Athens when it was young, when it was new, when it was the center of the world. They are still here. They will always be here. You are here with them on this road, in this silence, in the world that is still turning. You walk and the night passes and the light returns and the questions remain.